He was known to most people only as another waiter moving quickly between tables, another tired face in a uniform that smelled of coffee and late nights. His name barely mattered to customers who came and went, laughing over meals while he counted tips in his head and prayed they would be enough. As a single father, every shift was a calculation of survival. Rent, school fees, medicine, groceries. There was no room for mistakes, no safety net beneath him. His wife had passed away years earlier, leaving him with a little girl who believed her father could fix anything simply by holding her hand. That belief was both his greatest comfort and his heaviest burden. On that particular evening, his shift had ended late. The diner lights went out one by one, and he stepped into the storm with his coat pulled tight and his daughter sleeping against his shoulder, wrapped in a thin blanket. The bus stop was several blocks away, and he had learned long ago that taxis were luxuries meant for other lives. Each step through the flooded pavement reminded him how thin the line was between holding on and falling apart. Still, he walked with purpose, because someone depended on him. Halfway down the street, he noticed a shape near the curb, barely visible through the rain. At first, he thought it was a pile of discarded bags or a broken sign knocked over by the storm. Then the shape moved, and a faint, desperate sound cut through the rain. He slowed, his heart tightening as he realized it was a young woman crouched on the pavement, her clothes soaked, her body shaking violently. Cars passed without stopping, their headlights briefly illuminating her face before vanishing again into the darkness. He hesitated. Every instinct told him to keep walking. He had a child to protect, a schedule to keep, and nothing extra to give. But there was something about the way the woman looked, lost, terrified, and completely alone, that reminded him of the days after his wife died, when the world had kept moving while he could barely breathe. Against logic and fear, he turned back. Balancing his sleeping daughter on one arm, he approached the woman, shielding her as best he could from the rain. She was clearly injured, her ankle twisted at an unnatural angle, blood mixing with rainwater on the pavement. Panic flickered across her face when she saw him, the kind of fear that comes from being vulnerable in the wrong place at the wrong time. Slowly, gently, he helped her up, steadying her weight despite the strain on his own exhausted body. The walk to the diner felt endless. Rain soaked them all the way through, his shoes squelching with every step, his arms burning as he carried both his child and the weight of responsibility for a stranger's life. Inside the closed diner, he managed to get the manager to call an ambulance, then waited, silent and shivering, until help arrived. He left before anyone could thank him properly, slipping back into the rain as if the moment never happened, as if he had done nothing special at all. Days passed, and life returned to its familiar rhythm of early mornings, long shifts, and quiet evenings spent helping his daughter with homework at their small kitchen table. Bills still piled up, worries still whispered in his mind late at night. The memory of the woman in the rain faded into one of many sacrifices made without recognition, another small act swallowed by the demands of survival. One evening, after a particularly exhausting shift, he and his daughter sat together on their worn couch, sharing a simple meal while the television murmured in the background. The news was on, showing stories of people whose lives seemed impossibly distant from theirs. He barely paid attention, his mind drifting as his daughter watched with wide eyes. Then she froze. Her spoon clattered softly against the bowl as she leaned closer to the screen. On the television was a young woman standing confidently under bright lights, her hair perfectly styled, her smile calm and composed. The headline beneath her spoke of a rising public figure, someone whose story of resilience had captured the nation's attention. His daughter's small hand tightened around his sleeve, her voice filled with wonder as she insisted she had seen that woman before. At first, he dismissed it as imagination. But as the camera zoomed in, his breath caught. Beneath the polished appearance, he recognized her eyes instantly. They were the same eyes that had stared up at him through sheets of rain, filled with fear and pain. The same woman he had carried through the storm was now speaking confidently about recovery, gratitude, and a second chance at life. The news segment explained that she had been found injured during a violent storm and had narrowly escaped permanent damage thanks to a stranger who had refused to leave her behind. She spoke emotionally about how that moment had changed her perspective, how the kindness of someone with nothing to gain had given her hope when she thought she was invisible. She admitted she had never learned his name, only that he was a waiter and a father who walked away without asking for recognition. His daughter looked up at him with eyes full of awe, suddenly seeing her father not just as the man who packed her lunches and walked her to school, but as a hero. In that quiet living room, something shifted inside him. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel seen. In the days that followed, the story spread. People began searching for the anonymous hero from the rain. Social media buzzed with questions, interviews replayed on loop, and viewers everywhere were moved by the idea that goodness still existed in the darkest moments. Eventually, through the diner's security footage and a few persistent journalists, they found him. The attention was overwhelming. Cameras, questions, and praise all felt foreign to a man who had spent his life blending into the background. He tried to downplay everything, insisting he had only done what anyone should do. But the world didn't see it that way. Donations poured in from strangers who were touched by his story. The diner owner offered him a better position, and a local foundation stepped in to help with his daughter's education. Most importantly, the young woman he saved reached out. Their meeting was quiet and deeply emotional, two lives intersecting again under very different circumstances. She thanked him not just for saving her life, but for reminding her that compassion can come from the most unexpected places. In that moment, he realized that his struggle had never been meaningless. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every step through the rain had shaped him into someone capable of changing another person's fate. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. He still worked hard. He still worried. But hope had found its way into their small apartment, settling into the cracks where despair once lived. His daughter walked a little taller at school, proud of her father in a way that words couldn't fully express. And he learned, slowly, to be proud of himself too. Just before this story ends, take a moment to comment below and share what this story made you feel. Your words might inspire someone else who feels unseen right now.